Trump strikes Venezuela. Cartel hub. Vaporize it. Vaporize it. Oh my god, I expect too much. As gangs flee the country. Oh, I wonder to where these gangs are going, huh? Like a country nearby where the president is very friendly. Absolute cinema. Oh, thank you so much, Sanyara Zayman. Thank you very much for 5 months subscribing. I hope like these gangs are not fleeing to where I think they are fleeing to, yeah. Oh gosh, let's watch it.
Administration taking out a major threat to our homeland with a successful strike in Venezuela.
So, in a historic first, the United States just took down a cartel compound in Venezuela. And in another historic first, it was the Venezuelan government who told the US military where the bad guys were hiding, something other governments all across Central and South.
That's a miracle. That's a miracle. Oh my god, oh damn, that's so nice. That's so nice. Who would imagine that? Guys, who would imagine that Venezuela themselves would tell US where the bad guys were at, huh? Who would imagine that?
South America are also starting to do. Which means if you're a criminal, this is the wrong side of planet Earth for you.
President Trump says the United States has eliminated the leader of Tren de Aragua. The president says the U.S. Southern Command delivered a strike, coordinated, quote, with our friends in Venezuela, with whom we are working very well.
Gang known as Tren de Aragua.
The Trump administration designating Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization. Federal prosecutors in New York charging Guerrero last year. He's named as a co-conspirator in the indictment against former Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro.
Are we expecting, or should we anticipate at some point in the not-too-distant future, the United States to take action against the cartels in Mexico?
I think you're seeing action taken against these cartels, right, in the Caribbean and the Southern Pacific by our U.S. military. So you're seeing the will of this president and his influence over the world.
This is a huge deal. I mean, they invited our military in, and we were able to identify where he was. And President Trump had the foresight to seize Maduro, change the relationship. We have a totally different energy dynamic around the world. By the way,
check this out. Venezuelan oil exports are rising, and this is not going to stop anytime.
Yeah, that's the side. That's the side that people are complaining so much here. Oh, they just want the Venezuela oil and blah, 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 blah. Of course they want. Of course they will get something. But I mean, when I compare that, if it wasn't for US, we would still have Maduro there. And if it wasn't for US, like this same oil would be going, because don't get me wrong, guys. The oil always goes to somewhere. It can go to United States, or it can go to Russia or China. You choose. I prefer choosing the oil to going to United States. The choice is easier when you think like that.
Time soon. Also, what nobody's talking about is this entire move right here, reopening Venezuela. This is gonna remap the entire planet in ways nobody thought would ever happen, especially the criminals, because for decades, the one thing holding back Central and South America has been the rise of organized militants, who America's enemies say are the fault of our country. They say the cartels only exist because America exists, and they say illegal immigration only happens because America won't open its border, not because the wrong people have found a way to profit from it. But now leaders over here have banded together to end decades of mayhem. And now the gangs and criminals that we've been told were just a part of life and we're always going to be here, well, now they have no country where they can hide in and find sanctuary. There is no safe haven for a base or some sort of criminal operation that requires any sort of infrastructure. And think of what a nightmare this is for these guys who were making $13 billion a year off the US border when it was over.
It just reminds me, guys, I will tell you something. Today, at least I saw today, I don't remember if it was today or yesterday, a couple, I mean, I'm saying a couple, they are not a couple. It's a man and a woman. They were sanctioned by United States for being I don't know how I say that, being part of the the money laundry or something. I don't know what they are doing. They were doing something with which I don't remember actually. They were doing. They had some degree of involvement with PCC, which the terrorist group of my country. You know. So we had like 2 Brazilians sanctioned here already.
Open and have had no problem creating no-go zones in countries like Mexico and in Venezuela and in Colombia, destroying the lives of the law-abiding everywhere they operate. But that brings us to the real reason operations like what we just saw in Venezuela are taking place. The US government has decided to finally do something about crime in our country and in other countries, and leaders who represent people who are absolutely sick of this are 100% on board. And now we're seeing that folks who once fled cartels and gangs in their home countries are deciding to go back, as law and order is now running the streets in their hometowns, giving the law-abiding everywhere a chance to better their own lives and get ahead. And if you've really got a heart of compassion, instead of opening the US border, which just empowers these criminals, why not support the United States making things better for the law-abiding where they live by working legally or starting a business? Everyone in America should be in favor of what Venezuela just did, which just a few months ago was completely unthinkable. Watch.
President Trump says the United States has eliminated the leader of Tren de Aragua. The president says the U.S. Southern Command delivered a strike. The president says the U.S. coordinated, quote, with our friends in Venezuela, with whom we are working very well. And that, quote, as a result, Tren de Aragua no longer have safe haven in Venezuela or anywhere else.
So here you have a country which used to be run by a communist dictatorship with a cartel leader sitting atop it. And now things are totally different. They're working with the United States. Freedom is coming to the people of Venezuela in a way that it hasn't for a long time, and self-determination and the prospect of financial.
It has a long way to go. I don't dare say anything until I see real, factual results about Venezuela. But yeah, I hope it keeps going to the right direction, right?
Independence, something this country has been deprived of. And as you're about to see, this has huge implications for the way the world economy works and will work in the near future. Watch.
I mean, think about that. President Trump had the foresight to seize Maduro, change the relationship. We have a totally different energy dynamic around the world. By the way energy flows today, the straits will be nowhere near as relevant 1 to 2 years from now. Because of the foresight of President Trump, he's made us energy independent at home. We're a net exporter. Now Venezuela, through our partnerships.
Let me ask you a question. Why does Venezuela, which has the largest proven oil reserves in the entire world, not look like some of America's Gulf allies? Why is the wealth over in the Middle East not present in Venezuela? Simple. It's been stolen by criminals for years. And now that's changing. And the entire world is going to benefit from this. Not just the people of Venezuela who've been living in poverty and have been subject to corruption and criminal activity, but everybody who wants to buy those resources. This is going to lower prices for people all across the globe. It's going to make life more affordable.
I hope so.
And it's going to bring people out of poverty. Poverty that stuck around for too long because criminals had the wealth of this country firmly in their grasp, which they used to enrich themselves while their people lived in some of the most dire conditions anywhere on earth. But is oil the only resource that Venezuela has, which is still in the hands of criminals, or is there something else?
The gold mines of Las Claritas are controlled by affiliates of the gang known as Tren de Aragua.
Oh!
At least they were until the major military operation which has left many towns and mines deserted.
Wow.
It's a ghost town. People are leaving.
President Donald Trump claimed the gang was working with President Nicolas Maduro as justification for capturing him in January. Ties have warmed under interim leader Delcy Rodriguez. In areas like Las Claritas, her government's expected to grant new licenses to multinationals which haven't operated since the 2000s.
Wow. So this territory was controlled by gangs, and it's full of gold and other natural resources, and people have been living in poverty, working for criminal organizations, and now that's going to end. Now the wealth of this country is going to come out of it in ways never seen before, and this is going to take people who are living with nothing. These are people who are starving. It is going to give them a new future that wasn't possible 6 months ago while Maduro, who was a cartel leader, was sitting pretty in his criminal empire instead of in a New York jail where he he belongs. And you know what the other problem is with all of this? Remember, Venezuela, Iran, Cuba, these three countries are part of a regime support apparatus that benefits countries like Russia, who back them. And together, what do they do?
True.
They help each other evade US sanctions. They trade natural resources that are held by a corrupt criminal government in one country to a corrupt criminal government in another country. Oil was going back and forth from Venezuela and Iran. It was getting refined. It was.
By the way, in my country, the lefties in my country are trying to export like female from the age of 18 up to 22 to Russia. I wonder why only female and why only 18 to 22, right? Right? But they say that it's work creating drones there. But I really, really doubt that this is the only thing that they will be doing there.
Was being delivered to Cuba. These countries were keeping themselves afloat. And once Venezuela changed, the entire Jenga blocks tower of regime support crumbled and collapsed. That's why we are seeing so many changes in these three countries right now. And this is good news for the law-abiding, because the law-abiding don't benefit anywhere where the resources of their country are extracted from it and they get nothing for it.
People here don't care Donald Trump, don't care Delcy Rodriguez. People are on survival.
Survival mode.
Yeah.
Survival mode all day.
It's so interesting because, of course, you're exactly right. And now I remember just 3 years ago having to learn about Trinidad because it was such a new thing. But tell us about the organization itself. Is the organization itself built so that this leader can be replaced?
Okay, so before we get into that, understand that Tren de Aragua totally blows the narrative that cartels and criminal activity are the fault of the United States and that this is just how the world works. That narrative, Tren de Aragua blows it out of the water because they're a new gang. When they first started coming into the United States during the asylum crisis, people weren't really sure what they were. Law enforcement didn't really know how to identify them. What they were going to do once they got here remained to be seen. Now we know, but these guys are a new threat. They sprang up overnight. And why did that happen? Did that happen because the United States exists? Or did that happen because they were living in a country where Nicolas Maduro allowed them to escape from prison? A prison.
And they think so high and mighty of themselves, right? That's why they all should get death penalty.
Which they were running, by the way, in Aragua, which is where their name comes from.
They wouldn't be so happy like that if they would.
And then flood the rest of our hemisphere with state-sponsored mayhem. That's what happened here. If you have sanctuaries for criminals, crime is only going to increase. You don't stamp out crime by ignoring it, as progressives and socialists love to tell us, and by saying, oh, well, that's just how that country works. Just leave them alone. United States is an evil country. What right do we have to tell some country like Venezuela what to do? No, if you have criminals that are somewhere getting help from their government and then they leave that country and commit crime elsewhere, that's a problem for the entire world.
Venezuelan authorities confirming their part in the operation, intelligence sharing and technical support.
Gang known as Tren de Aragua.
The Trump administration designating Tren de Aragua as a foreign terrorist organization. Federal prosecutors in New York charging Guerrero last year.
I'm drinking wine, an event that I do also here,
against
maybe
former
twice
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, who was captured and brought to the U.S. in January to face.
So these guys were playing on the same team, the dictator of Venezuela and these criminal gang leaders. But think of what a massive development this is. Just 6 months ago, the idea of Venezuela not being a sanctuary for criminals wasn't on anyone's radar, especially the bad guys and especially the people who've accepted a dangerous status quo that ruins our entire hemisphere and steals from the law-abiding in places like Venezuela. But now the government of this country is on the right side of history. And how did that happen? Did it happen by accident, or did it happen because America exists and decided to finally do something about it? You see, this is where the idea of American leadership comes in. Had the US done nothing but allow Nicolas Maduro to continue getting rich, we wouldn't be talking about any of this. The country of Venezuela would still fail to benefit its own people because it is stolen from them each and every day by a despotic regime of criminals and gangs who run the place and flood other countries in Central and South America and try to come into the United States and do things like take over apartment buildings. This whole thing was unsustainable. But Venezuela is not the only country right now that is being looked at for potential military action. Watch this.
And including in Mexico, how they're going to do more and are doing more than we've ever seen before.
That includes, as we just heard, on land in Mexico?
On land, you have
Brazil.
a 95% reduction in illegal activity in between the ports that the Border Patrol is seeing every day. So that's almost a 100% increase in the capability on, like in the first days of this administration. That capability increases every single day, right? More hours on patrol, more equipment to sense activity. All of those things are leading to a safer border. And this policy change with no releases in over 13 months at the border of people that came in illegally.
Well, and the numbers reflect that success.
You know what's so fascinating about this? Here we have the common sense solution to criminals running rampant. Do something about it. Arrest the bad guys. Patrol the area. Make sure nobody's playing games, doing things that are illegal. And what happened? What did he just say? A massive reduction in the number of people who are doing things, the above ground operations of these criminal.
Just kill them all. Death is in my opinion, they deserve nothing less than death. You got them to talk what they want. You got two options to them. Or you talk and tell me about what you were doing, the people involved with you, what to know about all that stuff, and get life on jail, or you get death sentence if you don't speak up. That's it. That's literally the only options available on the table.
Organizations, those are just vanishing. Why? Because the criminals now fear a consequence. There was no consequence before for these gangs and criminals to do anything. The only consequence for them was if they didn't do anything, some other criminal group would take away an opportunity from them, would conquer territory, would make all kinds of money illegally. That's the consequence. So previously, they were rewarded for their criminal behavior. Now they face a consequence for it. That's a good thing for people who aren't criminals. Speaking of which, look at what Venezuela allowed to happen, which turbocharged this Tren de Aragua group to begin with.
Guerrero has escaped from this Venezuelan prison at least twice, and even from the inside, according to State Department filings, expanded the gang Tren de Aragua's influence transnationally, controlling gold mines and border crossings between Venezuela and Colombia.
Wow. So not only was this gang allowed to run rampant and take over a prison, after they were able to get out of this prison, what did they do? They created a transnational criminal enterprise. Now, does that sound like something that can happen in a country that has itself under control? Does that sound like it can happen in a country where the people running it exist in opposition to gangs and criminals like that? Or is it something that can only happen if you get help and if you're allowed to do it? That's what we were witnessing here. We're witnessing cartels and gangs running a country in South America, which made everything worse for South America. And of course, if that's the situation, if that's the status quo, people are gonna flee these countries. People are gonna wanna live somewhere else. People are gonna be willing to break immigration law and come to America, even if Trump's the president, because their homes are being destroyed. But that's being allowed to happen by these criminal governments that shouldn't be there in the first place. But there's another aspect to all of this. Now that crime is on the run in places like Venezuela and places like Mexico, you have things appearing in areas of these countries that were unthinkable just a few months and years ago. Look at this. Brazil, Venezuela, and Guyana are fueling this massive oil export boom in South America, something that never would have happened before. And with Venezuela having the largest proven reserves in the entire world, this area of the globe is gonna be where the entire world comes to get this vital natural resource that runs every single country on Earth. Think about what that means for
I don't think much changed here about the oil at all. I don't know.
Geopolitics. That's going to make the Strait of Hormuz irrelevant. It's not going to be a place where people need to go like they used to. Yes, if it's cheaper to ship out of the Strait of Hormuz, your country still might want to do that. But hey, if there's plenty of oil in South America, if it's easy to get, if it's all over the place, if the price drops, this is where everybody's going to come. They're coming right now. And that is going to mean that these countries, for the first time ever, have the ability to become modern leaders of our entire world. Think about that. And even if you don't want to extrapolate in your mind the few years that it's going to take for this all to get going, look at what's happening in Mexico right now.
Trump says the border's out of control and overrun by crime.
It was.
Okay, sale. Adelante.
But on a Saturday night in Mexicali, it's a
I
different
agree
picture.
with you, Blaze.
Yeah,
I
because
agree
the
with
This border
gone.
city is shaped by generations of Chinese migrants. residents from neighboring Calexico on the Californian side cross back and forth with ease.
I was born and raised in California, but I've got family here, so I come over often.
Pretty much everything. We come here for our medical appointments.
There's more choice when it comes to food and going out.
Look at how safe things are over here. Look at what happens. You get rid of criminal organizations and businesses have the ability to thrive. The law-abiding want to come out and bring economic activity to places like this. And what did these two women say? They said they leave California to come to Mexico for medical appointments. What a great thing for affordability law and order is. If you think healthcare is out of control in America and you think these healthcare companies are ripping people off, well, this is something that finally introduces some competition to a medical system that is so bloated it's just getting whatever it wants from all of us. And think of what this means. This means that the doctor, the business, the restaurant, the infrastructure in Mexico benefits from legal economic activity. People are not entering and leaving Mexico and California illegally.
I don't know how it works that though. I don't know if that's much good or if it's just cheap. Because there's a huge difference in being good and being cheap, you know? Like, it might be affordable there, but it doesn't mean that it's good. It's like here. Here we have a free service, a free healthcare system. But oh, you don't want to be on it. You don't want your life depend on it. Trust me.
Illegally. Things are orderly. Things are safe. Criminals are nowhere to be found. But if you reopen the border and let criminals take over, all of these businesses that you see here, they're all going to be under threat. They're all going to have to start paying money to these criminals for protection. These criminals will show up and immediately start draining the wealth from this area. They are gonna go after these businesses. They are gonna steal from them. They are gonna hit them up constantly. There's gonna be crime flooding the streets. People aren't gonna come here. The whole thing is gonna implode and it's just gonna keep the criminals in power. Why do we want a situation that does that? Why do we want to put the law-abiding in danger where they live? We shouldn't wanna do that. That's not how you lift people out of poverty. Law and order is the solution to people living in a desperate situation because criminals create those desperate situations, just like they did in Venezuela for decades, but that's now about to change. What do you think about all this? Thank you for watching.
I hope it is. I really think Cash Jordan is a bit too much positive about all of this stuff, you know? That's my impression of him. And I don't think it's bad. It's good to have some positivity, but I don't know. I just don't see the things the way he saw. Like, of course, like it's very good what Trump did with Venezuela now. And the cartel and everything, it's very amazing. But he says things too much, like it sounds like too much real for the state, for the state's being right now. You know, I don't know. But yeah, it's good. I mean, we have too much people talking the harsh reality already. We need some positive people like him, so that's good from time to time. Yeah. I will not complain about that, yeah. Before we go any further, I want to take this brief moment here to thank all of you, my patrons, for the incredible support to my work here on YouTube, and especially my 5-tail fox Tire member, the Holy Ball, and to all of my 3-tail fox Tire members, Wallany Wolf, Fanny Sylvie, Eat Himself, Chile Not Serious, Eustace the Useful, Zealous Isaiah, Ala Rosas, Max Tenor, Nicotino, Avery, Halcyonic Eder, and TV8. Thank you very, very much. You guys are amazing. Also, thanks to everyone that have been supporting me on Ko-Fi, Kick, and to all of my YouTube members. You can support this channel life and growth with just $5 a month and gain access to many perks. This is less than a burrito. Check out my Patreon. Link is in the description below. And that's it for today, my dear Fox Links. See you guys in the next one. Bye bye.